You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Gene.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AFTERBUZZ TV's The 100 After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's The 100 After Show.
I like this.
Yeah.
Do you like this?
I could jam to this. Oh my god.
Hey. That's cool. Hey guys, welcome to AFTERBUZZ, the 100, episode 8, Day Trip. I'm your host, Chloe Onyx.
And I'm Tauri Miller. Good to see ya.
Yeah, it's good to be back. So, episode 8, how did you feel about this episode?
I liked it.
Yeah.
It was a lot calmer than the last episode. But
Was it really, though?
a little bit. Like, I think it was a different feel. Because the last episode, it was like, oh my gosh, action stuff happening, people die, blah. But this one, it was all about character development and, you know, figuring out how these people are doing. Because I will get into this at some point, but it's like the first time you see a couple characters really face their own demons.
Oh, yeah, indeed. And, I mean, the way the episode started, I was just super excited that they could talk to the Ark. Everyone was lining up to talk to their families. It was, like, such an exciting time. They literally had, like, a camera. Before they could barely radio, now they were, like, FaceTiming. Like, I was just like, okay, so we're just going to advance this technology in, like, a week. Okay. But we get to see Clarke, and she's talking a lot with Jaha. She's almost like the minister, the prime minister of, like, Earth.
Right.
You know, it's so funny. And, you know, they have personal conversations, Jaha and Clarke, and he's like, you know, talk to your mom. You let everybody else talk to their moms and parents and families, but you don't want to talk to yours.
Yeah.
And, you know, it just kind of made you feel like, oh, you know, Clarke, you know, parents make decisions that are sometimes very hard.
Yeah.
And they wish they didn't have to do, but they do. But it's all about forgiving.
Yeah.
Do you think she should forgive her mom, or you think she should be like, no, she killed my dad, that's it?
I think that the mature thing to do is to forgive her mom. I mean, because it was, I mean, at the time, her mom was trapped between a rock and a hard place, and they didn't know what was going to happen if the news got out about the Ark. I mean,
forbid.
you know, we found out that essentially people rose to the occasion, but it could have gone a completely different direction.
It could have. There's a lot of times in distress moments, I find people that, if they're not selfless, they end up being selfish.
Right.
And they probably could have been like, not me, not my kid, not my family. You better pick that family, you know?
Right.
So you never know. And, I mean, you know, it just depends on the day, I guess. So Dax, who's, he wasn't a regular day player before this episode, right? We didn't see too much of him before now. So Dax, actually, this episode is you know, a pretty big entity, very important, because as soon as he lines up to talk to his family, his mom, here comes Shumway. And I didn't learn his name until today, guys. Is it Shumway or Shunway?
I think it's Shumway.
Shumway.
Like
Shumai?
Yeah, like Shumai.
Like Shumai. Okay.
Ah.
So Shumway comes on the screen, and he's just giving direction to Dax, like, if you want your mom to come to Earth on the first pod out, you got to do this.
Right.
You know, like, everyone has their little sneaky agendas. And so Dax is with it. He's like, I'll take this ultimatum. Like, it's not a problem. And the ultimatum is to kill Bellamy, because if it's obviously come out that Bellamy shot Jaha.
Yes.
But nobody knows why. And Bellamy is chicken. He doesn't want to talk to Jaha, even though, you know, everyone's had a chance to talk to the Ark. He's just been running away from it.
Right.
And you even see that when Clarke comes in to talk about an assignment that Jaha gave her, which was to go look for this depot, which was an emergency aid.
Right.
And so as soon as she comes in, he doesn't get a word out, and he's like, I'm not going to talk to them. Like, I'm not going to talk to the Ark. And she's like, slow down, you know, I have an assignment. I want you to come. So we get to see like Bellamy is just chicken because he's scared he's gonna die.
Right. I mean, and it's understandable. I mean, keeping in mind that he is still like a teenage boy.
Is he? How old is he supposed to be?
I think he's supposed to be 16.
No, I
Yeah.
thought Octavia was like 16.
Maybe. If anything, then he's like,
25.
I don't think 25.
Come on, like no, when okay, let's go back. Let's
I don't want to do math. I don't wanna...
when okay, so how old? I took him to be around 8 or 9 when she was born, or maybe 7 or 8. But I feel like he has to be at least 8 years older than her.
Maybe, but then okay, I guess he was never in prison, so he couldn't have been one of the minors. But I still assumed he was at least around the age of 18 or so.
I don't know. We gotta get these age things
Guys,
down.
if you know how old he is,
Comment.
comment
on YouTube.
tweet it, and we will be forever corrected.
I see you guys watching it, so don't act like you don't hear us over here. Correct us if we're wrong, so we can say it next episode. But I think he's a little bit older, especially because he takes the reins and he's just, like commander in chief kind of thing. But I could be wrong. I don't think he's 16, but
Okay.
you be the judge.
But he's still dealing with all the demons. Like he's still dealing with having shot a person for the first time in his life.
Yeah.
And for that person to still be alive, it's a little awkward to say the least.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing to feel like you've killed someone, but then to have to face someone who you have mortally wounded is another story.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. And so, they're packing up and they're getting ready to go on this day trip. Clarke invites Bellamy. Bellamy's like, okay. But Bellamy has something else in mind because he's taking all of these rations. And she's looking at him like, why are you taking so much rations? It's one day trip. We're just going to find some, see if there's some blankets and food and a place to go for the winter so we don't freeze.
Right.
And so they leave the camp. But before they leave the camp, I love this moment where Clarke goes and tells Finn that she's leaving, and Finn is almost like, no, where are you going? And like, don't go, and obviously Raven is standing there and she's just looking at both of them like, seriously?
Yeah. Really?
Like, she knows everything that's going on. Finn doesn't know. We find out later that Finn doesn't know that she knows everything that happened. And I just feel so awful. And then I feel even more awful when Octavia goes to get water for the grounder and she rubs it kind of in Raven's face. And she's just like, I think, I forgot what they say specifically, but I know that Octavia is just kind of like, Raven says sorry for, what I did to the ground or whatever. I had to do what I had to do. Right. And Octavia is like, yeah, like, just rubbing in her face the situation with Clarke and Finn. Like, like he had to do what he had to do, I guess, too, like, other things were happening. And I just felt like, dang, like she's already fighting for position and it's her boyfriend. Like, you're going to rub that in her face, really? Like that. I thought that was a low blow.
It was super catty. But I mean, if you're going to dig at her, that's the place to do it.
Exactly. Exactly. And then we see Octavia talking, like sneaking up to see the grounder. She's been trying to sneak up to see the grounder forever. And finally, once Bellamy leaves, she's able to get upstairs and talk to him. And then we find out that the grounder knows more than thank you.
Yeah.
Like, he really speaks English. Like, he understands. She makes a joke about her brother being an a-hole or another word for lack of better words. And, he just kind of, like, smirks or laughs. So we know that he knows, he gets jokes. And he gets it. And he introduces himself. So we're not going to call him Grounder anymore. We're going to call him Lincoln.
Lincoln.
Isn't that cool?
It's cool. He's named after a president and all that jazz.
That's hilarious.
I was surprised at how normal he spoke. After that long, and I assume maybe everyone in the grounder camp speaks English, but he was kind of just chatting like you or I. He's like, I can't talk to you. It's a bad idea.
Yeah, definitely. And then Octavia brings up the point of, like, you're not an enemy. He's like, but I am. So that made me think a lot about him and his role and, has he really been hunting down her friends or the 100 and just only saving her life? Or does he mean like his friends are hunting down the 100 and he's just watching because, you know, that's his clan or clique or
Right.
whatever they want to call themselves, the Grounder people. You know, so then it's interesting to see him say that, and, you know, he's like, don't help me, but she's very adamant about helping him.
Yeah.
So it's a very interesting dynamic. And then the most interesting thing happens. We see Jasper going to take a piss in the woods, like off the side of camp, and he sees like stuff running past him, grounders. He sees grounders running past him, but he has no idea like what's going on. And then we see Octavia, and he runs to Octavia, and he's just like, "You don't see them? You don't see them? Like, we gotta run for cover."
Yeah. I loved that in that moment he also kind of offhandedly confessed his love for her.
Did he?
Yeah.
I missed that.
And they've been kind of like playing with it up until this point. Like, you know, he got all super defensive when she was kidnapped. She had kissed him that one time. But then
when he saved her life, right?
Yeah. But then at this point, and no one acknowledges it, he goes, "Octavia, I love you. There are grounders here." And she's just like, "Okay, here's a stick."
Because she realizes he's hallucinating. She's like, "You're high on something." It's very evident because she's looking at him like he's crazy.
Yeah.
And then we realize that he eats these berries because he points them out to her. And we're like, "Oh, okay, well, he's high off of hallucinogen berries, little green berries."
Yeah.
But it's even funnier when we see that it's not just him hallucinating. It's every damn body hallucinating. And they're having these conversations. So let's jump back to Bellamy and Clarke because they leave for the day. They find the depot with emergency aid, and they realize that they have guns and, you know, they can protect themselves now for the grounders. But everyone's having their moment because everyone is eating these damn berries.
Right.
So we see Bellamy leave, and he goes upstairs outside, and Clarke starts hallucinating, and she sees her father.
Yeah.
And then she's having a conversation with him. And I don't know if these berries, like, make you hallucinate about things that are bothering you, things that are on your mind, things that are important to you.
Well, I think that it is kind of like one of those things, not to say that I've ever tried acid or shrooms or any hallucinogen, but I believe that they amplify whatever is most on your mind or like however you're feeling at that moment. Because like Monty, he felt good. And then a lot of the other campers, they just kind of felt weird things or just kind of like had...
Yeah, look, they were having a party.
Yeah, they were having
a party,
like a
with themselves and something else in the supernatural.
Yeah.
So...
But, I mean, Bellamy and Clarke both, they are the two most tortured characters in the show.
Do you think so?
I think so. Other than the Grounder, who is physically tortured.
Oh, my God.
They are probably the most... that
mentally?
have to deal, yeah, mentally, because
mentally
like
tortured.
They've each had to go beyond what they thought they were capable of.
Yeah.
And they have to lead this group of kids, and like it boils up to a point, and that we see later in the episode, in that like they don't know what they're doing, and they're just kind of, you know, flying by the seat of their pants.
They're trying the best they can.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, you know, it's very interesting that Clarke is having this conversation with her father, and it's all about forgiving the mother, and she's just like, no, and she's just very, and, you know, the father's forgiven, and he's the one that died. I'm like, if he can forgive your mother, you can forgive your mother, you know? Like, it reverts back to that thing, because I feel like she wants to, but there's a part of her that's so angry that she just can't.
Yeah.
Or won't, rather, because you can, but she won't.
Yeah.
And she's holding on to that. And I feel like she's holding on to that for her father, but her father's letting her know, like, you're not holding on to that for me. You're holding on to it, you know, for yourself, and you shouldn't, because it's only going to hurt her. Her father's somewhere in peace. He was like, why am I here? You know, like she's like, how? He's like, the question isn't how, it's why.
Yeah.
I've been having chilling, and you're like, you know, calling me off from, like, my chill spot because of your guilty conscience or whatever it is you're feeling, like sorrow.
Yeah.
And so, you know, she's just like, no, no, no. And then finally she gets bopped over the head by Dax.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like, you know, fine, crazy ass. Because he's like, she's talking to herself, and he obviously hasn't had any berries.
Yeah.
And he just knocks her out. And then we fast forward to Bellamy, who's like feeling crazy, and you can tell by the way the camera shot him that he looks tired or sick.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you know, he's having a whole conversation with Jaha,
Mm-hmm.
and he's just like bleeding out the stomach, and I'm like, what the hell is going
yeah.
on? And he brings all the people that sacrificed their own lives, and it's just a big to do. You know, I felt bad for Bellamy because, like you said, he's a boy, and even if he is 24, because I
Right.
really don't think he's 16, but you guys tell me. Even though he's really like 24 in my mind, he's still he's still like a boy, you know. And he's
Right.
still going through like he never shot anybody before until Jaha, and you know, a few grounders, or you know, or just attacked anybody in that way.
Yeah, and he obviously blames himself for all those people dying because of he thinks that since he got rid of the radio, they had to kill them.
Yeah, yeah, and they kind of did.
Well, yeah,
They kinda did.
I'm not saying he didn't. I'm just,
But
you know.
he did it. It's not like he was doing this just to be malicious or mean or nasty or evil. He was doing it out of the love of his sister.
Right.
And there were consequences to that. You know, sometimes we make decisions that are very hard in life, and we don't necessarily want to do them, or they're not part of who we are. But you know, what did they say, when the chips are down?
Yeah.
When the chips are down, you know, and for our loved ones, you know, I think my mom would kill for me. I'm just saying. I hope she would. But yeah, so we see Bellamy hallucinating and having this whole conversation with Jaha. And then I wrote this down. He starts to get his ass kicked by Jaha.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just so funny. It's not funny, but it's interesting to see how real it is in his mind. Because I hear that's the strongest muscle in our bodies is the mind.
It's true.
So he's getting his ass kicked, and he's like, kill me. And he's like, no. Like, that's peace. You know, like, you want peace, you got to earn it, which I'm gonna kick your ass.
Right.
For lack of better words. Go ahead.
I was super worried that Bellamy was going to kill himself. Like, I know that he in his mind, the ultimate justice would be Jaha killing him, but I thought like that would be his redemption. Is like, he's like, all right, well, if you're not going to do it, then I'll do it in your name, or something like that. Which and now I wonder if it was Dax beating him up the whole time, because that was super physical. So just imagine the outside of his mind and him just kind of flailing around.
Yeah.
Just...
No. It is very interesting because even in his mind, he thinks he has a gun in his hand, and he really doesn't.
Right.
So he's going through a lot over there. But let's go back to what's going on at the village. Because the whole damn village is hallucinating. Because at first I thought maybe it's just Jasper. I'm like, oh, he just ate some berries he picked from a tree.
Right.
But if you remember in the beginning, they're all like carrying meat and picking berries and crunching nuts and putting together these little packs. And so when we go back to the village, everybody's hallucinating, walking around, dancing, or scared, or just going through whatever it is they're going through. And we see Octavia, where she feels like, okay, this is my time to strike. I'm going to free my man. Well, we don't know it's her man, but it's her man. Because she goes, everybody's, running around. They don't know what's going on. And she frees him, puts his clothes on him, or someone else's clothes from the village on him, and kisses him.
Yeah.
Like bloody faced and everything. I just thought that was gross, me personally. And I asked the guys here in the studio if they would kiss, their girlfriend or whatever.
Yeah.
If she had like blood everywhere. And I found varying answers. So you tell us, would you kiss your mate if they had blood all over their face, smeared, dried, dirty for days?
I bet the dudes will say yes, the girls will say no.
Yeah,
because you
I
got
would
it.
say no.
It's like showing your love, that you'll love them and you'll kiss them no matter what.
My love is, I'll get you some peroxide and some alcohol and some soap and water and get you cleaned up, and then we could talk about the kiss. But
Right.
but it was very passionate, and she practically saved his life.
Yeah.
Because he thought he was going to die there. Lincoln thought, I stopped calling him the grounder. Lincoln thought he was going to die. And, she got him down and out. And he almost was home free. And then Finn sees him.
Yeah.
And Finn and Raven are the only two that are not high on berries.
Yeah, that was
That
really,
is so funny to say.
It was an interesting moment, though. Because, like, Finn, he was obviously stabbed by this guy, but he lets him go. Like, he makes this conscious effort to get out of his way.
Yeah.
Which I guess speaks to Finn's character in that, like, he's really forgiving, which seemed to have been the theme of this episode.
Yeah.
But even so.
Forgiveness
Yeah.
conquers all. In some way, shape, or form. Yeah, so Finn lets him go,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like wobbling away. And then we fast forward fast forward over back to the depot, and we see Dax, who it's so ironic that anytime someone is coming out of the hallucination, that it's like Dax is standing over them, like ready to beat them. So
Right.
when Bellamy's like, "Oh, I just want to die," Dax is like, "I'm gonna give you your wish," and it's not Jaha anymore. He's
Yeah.
standing over them, and then they have like this huge fight. And here comes Clarke coming out with her AK-47 ready to shoot. Everyone is like a gunfight, but Bellamy reaches for his gun, his hallucinogen gun,
Right.
because there is no gun there,
Mm.
and it was just in his mind. I'm just saying.
That was so sad. He thought he was going to get him some revenge, and
Right? Or
nothing.
Or just at least like, you're not gonna kill me today.
Right.
And he's like, you know, reaching for this gun that's not there, and he's like, wait, I just had a gun in my hand to kill myself. It's crazy.
Yeah.
What would you do if you had like hallucinogen berries that you ate, like, or would you even know what you were doing?
I wouldn't, but I feel like I'd be more like Max, just kind of chilling back and relaxing, enjoying the view, I guess.
Was Max chilling and relaxing and maxing?
He was at first. He like when you first see the whole hallucination filter as it's Monty looking at Jasper, and he's like, "Hey, I'm just gonna chill out here," before we have the whole Jasper craziness.
The craziness.
So I think I'd be that guy without the eating the pine cone.
Without the eating yeah, he did say, he said, I ate a pine cone
Yeah.
because it told me to. I was like, wow, that is some strong berries. I'm just saying. So we see finally in the end, Bellamy stabs him in the neck. Dax dies. Clarke and Bellamy sit down. They have this heart-to-heart moment about Bellamy finally talking to the Ark, talking to Jaha. And, you know, he's like, I'll do that, but let me just sit here and relax in this moment because I just been through a lot. He was planning on running away and never coming back because he knew the Ark wanted to kill him.
Yeah.
You know, he was going to be condemned.
Well, Clarke does a really good job of convincing him to come back because she needs him and they all need him. Like, as much as we've kind of villainized Bellamy up to this point, like, he really has done a good job of bringing order.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so they finally make it back to camp, and they bring these guns, they unload them. You know, Bellamy steps into his position again and goes, you know, training starts tomorrow. So we see him right back in his position, and then they finally sit down and they both talk to Jaha. And Jaha, you know, is ready to condemn him, like that always was the original plan.
Right.
And Clarke says her piece about Bellamy and how he's helped out. And Jaha is still not trying to hear that. He's like, oh, hell no, I'm still going to kill him. You know, like he shot me. And so Bellamy, it's so funny because he saves his own life, really. He just goes, no, you're not, if you want to know who sent me to kill you.
Right.
So he thinks about that.
I was hoping that they'd come out and say it. I thought that maybe they'd like wait for the next episode, which would have made me angry. But they actually went through with it, which was great. And that was the perfect hand to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we see Bellamy talk to Octavia because remember they've been arguing, they're angry with each other. You know, they both say things they don't really mean, which we all do, especially with family. We all say things we don't mean in the heat of the moment.
Yeah.
And then, you know, it's family at the end of the day. I know I say things I don't mean and vice versa with my mom or whoever and my family. But, you know, at the end of the day, that's all you got.
Yeah.
It's all you got. That's the only person, those are the only people that are going to ride and die for you to the end, you know? And so Bellamy makes a statement of, you know, you don't have to like me, but I'm here. So you're going to have to learn to live together. And I respect that because growing up in a household of a dictatorship, that's exactly what I call it.
Oh, yeah?
That's seriously. And most West Indian parents, I think, or West Indian kids can agree that your household is a dictatorship till you move out. Whatever your parent says is it. If you don't like it, off with your head. And they know what I mean by that. And so, you know, it's just what it is. And your parents might say to you, you know, you might not like these rules, but you're going to have to live with them or you can peace out.
Right.
And I don't think they could peace out. So they got to work it out. But, you know, and then he asks her about letting Lincoln go. And she's like, nope,
Yeah.
She just lies blatantly, which I'm not mad. She doesn't want to cause any more fuel to the fire.
Yeah.
And they don't really know what happened except for Finn. And speaking of Finn,
Mm-hmm.
Finn and Clarke have this whole debacle about, you know, how can you trust him? And Clarke is like, I trust him. And you guys brought guns back, and the nuclear war, what happened, you know, 100, you know, however many years earlier. Like, you know, he brings up his piece, and I feel like in this moment, he's been like utterly in love with Clarke up until this moment.
Yeah.
You know, because he's just like, you know, looking at her crazy, and she's like, well, I trust him. And yes, it's right. It might not be the best idea, but it's what we have to do. And then we see Raven peek in.
Right.
And she's just, you know, keeping tabs on her man.
Of course.
That's what she has to do.
Well, I feel like that moment kind of showed how far Bellamy and Clarke's relationship had come.
Yeah.
Because when Finn was stabbed, they were super at odds, and then now they have this mutual respect for each other that Finn can't even understand. And that like nice little dig of, you know, I wish you would have told me about Raven.
Yeah.
Just kind of sunk it in there real good.
Yeah. And then even earlier in the episode, Raven says to Finn, like, you know, she wants to have sex with him, and he's just like, eh. And she's just like, look, I already know.
Yeah.
And he looks shocked, like, what? She's like, I already know. I don't want to talk about it. That's it. You still love me? Yes. All right. Boom.
Right.
That's the end of this. You know, so I think he's taken aback by the fact that Raven knows what is going on.
Yeah.
And so it's just interesting because I feel like once Clarke, you know, has this newfound respect for Bellamy, that Finn doesn't respect her as much.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I do agree with Finn in a way because I think that the guns, though they are a manner of defense, they're going to bring nothing but trouble. Because you give a bunch of kids guns, like, I mean, at this point, everyone is on equal ground. You want a mutiny to start, the guns start firing, and then it's chaos everywhere.
Absolutely.
You know?
So finally, Bellamy tells Jaha who sent him to kill him, which was Shumway. Shumway. Yeah, I always think of Shumai now. Shumway, and then they send the guards after him and lock him up, and he thinks he's going to get floated. And Diana shows up.
Yeah.
Diana, who's now in the council, who's taken Abby's spot. She's supposed to be the good guy for the people. She shows up, and she has Shumway killed in his cell and makes it look like a suicide.
Yeah.
And then we know she's up to no good because she wanted to kill Jaha and possibly become the chancellor again.
Yeah.
So what did you think about that? You didn't tell me.
Well, I told you,
Oh, he told
individuals who listen and or watch this podcast. I called it, and it was sweet.
So speaking of that, let's go to predictions, because I want to know what you think about predictions.
And
for
now,
next week.
your
All right.
AfterBuzz TV predictions.
So, what do you predict, knowing that Diana is like an undercover backstabber?
It has to come to light. I mean, I think that it'll kind of settle for, I think, a couple episodes, and then maybe around the end it'll boil up. But I think that because even at the beginning of the episode, she was kind of counteracting everything Jaha said, so she's causing some trouble, and I think that she's gonna be more aggressive going forward.
Troublemaker.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I predict that. There's gonna be a pod that makes it to Earth.
Yeah.
And I feel like things are gonna change up a little. I feel like they're gonna want to set the rules more and say this is what you're supposed to do, and I have more authority. And Bellamy's not gonna like that.
Right.
So I see some turmoil stirring up between the 100 and ARC people. I don't know what to call them, like the other 20, so that's 120 or something. I don't know. But I see some, or next 100, if they could send 100 down in a pod, I guess 100 per pod.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see a pod making it to Earth and stirring up a little trouble.
Ooh, that would be nice. It would completely destroy the current dynamic, and
Yes, it would.
Yeah.
It would. So I'm excited. I can't wait to see you next episode.
yeah, should be a good episode. And then, I mean, we still have to find out what happens with the grounders and everything like that. So
Yes. So you never know, guys. Tune in next week. Like us, follow us, go on YouTube, iTunes, rate us, tell us what you want to talk, what you want us to talk about, what you want to see. I'm your host, Chloe Onyx. You can find me on Instagram at Chloe Onyx and on Twitter at Chloe Onyx11.
And I'm Tauri J. Miller. You can find me on Twitter at Tauri J. That's TaurijAY.
All right, guys, we'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.